Hello everyone, welcome to this new video. Today we are going to create authentication or implement authentication with Express server. So we will add this authentication using JWT and we will use our cookies to set the JWT. So here you can see we have some routes, and the private route, that is the interesting one. That's what we should protect. So right now you cannot access this route because you do not have any kind of token. So for that you need to log in. So you need to log in with the credential here. So once you log in, you will have this 200 OK, and also you will have this cookies. So now with that cookies, you can actually come here in the private route and send it. Now you can see we can actually access the route here. So the private route is open, and after that you can come here in the logout, and once you log out, you do not have the cookies anymore. Now you cannot access the private route anymore. So that's it, as you can see. So that's what we will create in this video. I hope you will like it. So no more talk, let's dive into it. So first of all, here we need to initialize this project with npm. So npm init and -y flag, and we will have now package.json here, as you can see. So next thing is we need to install all the packages that we will need. So let's install those. So for that, npm install, let me zoom it a little bit. So npm install, and the first one is the bcrypt.js, and after that cookie parser. So after that .env and Express and JSON-Web-Token, and finally Mongos. So bcrypt.js to hash our password, and cookie parser to work with cookies in Express server, and .env for our environmental variables, and Express for our server, JSON-Web-Token for our JSON token, JWT token, which we will send with in cookies, So Mongos for our MongoDB. So this is the ODM to work with MongoDB. So that's all. So if I install, it will go ahead and install everything. So once we do that, I can see all the packages are installed here, and after that one more package which we will need. So npm install, and it will be a dev dependency, so that's why -d, and after that the name of the package, which is the nodemon. So it will watch our files. So if we edit or if we create any kind of files in our server or in our project, it will restart the server. So I will show you how we will use that. So that's all what we need. So let's actually go ahead and see in our package.json, all the packages are here, and after that we need to add the type here. So we will say the type will be module. So now we can use the import and export syntax, and after that we need to add a script. So let's say that we will add the dev here. So in here I will say nodemon, and after that the entry point, which is the index.js in this case. So also let's also create the start, which will be not nodemon, it will be node index.js. So that's it. So now we have these two scripts. One will be for our development server, and this one will be for our production. So after that, let's create our index file, which will be our entry point. So index.js. So in our index.js, we need to create our server. So for that, we need to import Express. So Express will be from the Express, so it will be directly Express like that, and after that we will create the app from that. So app equals to Express, and we will get the app here, and after that we will also make a port here. So port equals to, let's say that process.env .port, and if we do not have any kind of port in our environmental variable, in this case I will say we will add it in the 5000. So that's it. So after that, here let's actually listen to our app. So for that I will say app.listen, and here I will say the port, and after that we will have this function where we will say for now a console.log, and here I will say. So that's it. I think this will be fine. And final thing, we need to add this port in our .env. So let's get a .env file in the root, and here I will say port equals to, and let's say 5000 here as well. So everything is fine, and if we want to actually run this, we can actually run it with the dev script that we added here. So let's run it in the terminal. So I will say here npm run dev, and yeah, as you can see our nodemon is actually starting, and we can see our port number and with this console log, which means everything is fine. So next thing that I will do is I will add our database here. So let's actually do that. So constant connect db, so this will be a function, async function. So in this async function I will try to connect our MongoDB. So I will use mongos here, mongos.connect, and here I will use our MongoDB connection string. So for our MongoDB I will use my local version MongoDB. I already installed MongoDB in my local machine, in this machine. So I will use that. But if you do not have the MongoDB installed in your local machine, you can use MongoDB Atlas. Just go there and get the connection string from there. So, and if you are using MongoDB locally like me, you can just say MongoDB / localhost 27017. So that's the MongoDB local port environment, and after that we need to put our name of the database. I will say Express JWT Auth. So this will be the database name, and that's all. And I need to use it in our this function, and here I will just pass it. So let's say process.env.db connection. So that's it. And also here we will say we will await that, and if it happens successfully I will do a console log. I will say MongoDB connected, like that. And if we have any kind of error here, we will catch it here, and I will just console log that, console.log error. And also I will exit the process. So process.exit with a code 1, which means we have an error here. So that's it. We need to call this function here, and if everything is okay, we should see 2 console log. And okay, we can see there is an error, which is this one. I think we are not getting our DB connection from the environmental variable because we are not using our .env package that we installed, and for that I need to use import .env/config, and I think that's it. Yeah, this is it. We can see in the bottom the MongoDB is connected, which means everything is fine. And next thing that I will do is I will add my middlewares. So here I will add my middlewares. So I will add 2 middlewares. First one is the cookie parser that we installed, and second one is the JSON, so which is coming from Express directly. So first one will help us to work with cookies in our server, and second one will help us to parse our JSON so that we can receive JSON data and work with that. So these 2 middlewares will be needed. And next thing is we will create our routes. So for that I will create a folder with the name of routes, and here we will have 2 folder. First folder inside this one will be the files will be the private, and here I will just have my routes. So let's actually have that. I will get that from Express, and for that I need to import Express here. So import Express, and from the Express I need to get the router equals to express dot router. Once we have the router, and we will get the router dot get. So these will be our private route. We need to protect this route, and this is just for test, and let's say only the slash will be fine in this case. And here I will just get the request and the response, and I will just res.send or JSON. You got the private route. So that's it. I think we need to actually export this router from here. So export default router. So that's it. And after that, if I come here in our index, we need to use that. I will say app.use, and here we need to provide the path, so it will be /private, and here we need to pass the function. Here we need to pass the routes. So we need to import this exported router that we have here, and let's name it private routes, and we will import that from our routes /private. So that's it. And also here we need to make sure that it is having the JS extension. So once we do that, after that, open your client. So in this case I will use Insomnia. So here in our Insomnia, let's create a new request, and let's name it private, and localhost http://localhost 5000 I think /private, and that's it. If I do that, I can see you got the private route, which means everything is fine. So we are having our private route open. So what we need to do is we need to protect this route with the authentication, and for that we need to do one more thing, which is we need to create our model so that we can create an user and save the user in the database. So for that we need to create a model. So let's create a model folder here, and here I will have only model, which is the user. And here in our model, first of all we need to import Mongoose here, and after that we need to get the schema from our Mongoose. And once we have the schema, we can create our new schema, which is the user schema, from our new schema. And here we need to pass all the fields that we need for our this particular schema. So first thing that I will need is the username, and this username will be a type of string, and also required will be true. And similarly we will have another thing, which is the password, and it will be string and it will be required true. So also here the username should be a unique value always. So I will say unique will be true as well. So once we have the schema, we need to convert this schema into a model. So for that I will say mongoose dot model, and here I will name it, so it will be user model, and the schema for this model will be the user schema, and it will create a model, and that's what we need to export from this file. And I will say export default mongoose model. So it will export this model. Now we can actually get this model and work with that. So let's actually do that. So to create a user, we will use register. So to register that, we will create new routes. So let's create a new folder, so new file in the routes, which will be auth.js. so this will be for our auth routes. So here we will have 2 routes, and let's actually get that. I will say constant router equals to press dot router, like that, and we need to import Express here. Import Express from Express. So now we have the router, and finally 2 routes, one will be login and one will be register. So let's actually work on the register first of all, so that we can create user. So I will say router dot post, so it will be a post request and it will be register. And here we will instead of having the function here, so like we did in our private route, instead of having the function directly here, what I will do is I will actually have the functions in a separate file. So we will just reference the function here. So let's actually call the function with the name of register, and we need to create a folder for that, which will be controllers. And in this controllers folder we will have our first controller, which is the auth.js. And here in our auth controller I will have the function, so export constant register, and here we will have request response, and for now I'll say rest.json register, like that. And I will actually import this function here and make sure that you have the JS extension. If everything is fine, we can actually use this. Okay, I think made a mistake here, it will be equal sign here. So if everything is okay, we need to go back to our index file and add this auth here. So I will say auth. For our auth route, I will actually use our auth routes, and I need to import the auth routes from the routes and auth.js, obviously. So that's it. Okay, I think we have some error. Okay, let's go back to our auth routes, and as you can see we are not exporting anything, so that's why it is complaining. So export default router, and that's it. Now it is fine. Now if I come here in our Insomnia and let's create a new request, or let's duplicate this one with the name of register, and it will be a post request, and here we will have JSON. For now we will not pass anything, and here what I need to do is so come here in our index. So this is the auth. After the auth, what we have register. So we need to do that like that. So auth/register, and if we do, we can see the register here. So everything is fine. So let's come here in our register controller. Here we need to actually create the actual functionality. So first thing that I will do is here we will check if we have the password here. So if request.body.password, in this case if we have everything, in this case first of all I will get the salt. So before we hash the password, we need to get a salt. So salt equals to bcrypt. So we need to import bcrypt, from bcrypt.js, and here I will say get salt sync, and the level of salt will be 10 here, and that's it. And after that we will hash the password, which we will get from the client. So constant hashed password equals to, and once again bcrypt dot hash sync, and here I need to pass the password. So request dot body dot password, and here I will pass the salt. So it will hash the password with the level of salt that we specified here. So once we have the hashed password, we can actually we can create the user with the hashed password and store it in our database. So constant new user equals to, so new user, so this user is the model, so we need to import that. So import user from, so right now we are in the controller, we need to go back and model and user.js. So that's it. So we have our model, and now we can actually create a new user based on our model. And here we need to pass the specified field, which is the username and password. Username, and here I will say request dot body dot first name, sorry, request dot body dot username, like that. And also we need to get the password. So for the password, we will not get the password from the body, request body, because what I did here is we use the request.body.password and hash that password, and that's what we will use to store our password, so hashed password. And the only reason we actually checked here if we have the password or not is that before we hash the password, we need to make sure that we already have a password, otherwise it will not hash it, so we will not have any kind of password to store. So that's why I just have this check. So that's it. Once we have the new user with these two fields, in this case I can just save that in our database. I will say await new user dot save, and it will save it into the database. And if everything happens successfully, I will say res dot status 201, which means we created something, and JSON, here I will say new user created, and like that. So that's it. And here you can see we are actually checking this password. So if we do not have any kind of password, in this case I will just say res dot send, and before that I will have a status here. So the status will be 403, and JSON, here in the JSON I will say please provide a password, like that. So finally we need to add our catch block here. So if we have any kind of error in this try block, we will catch the error in this catch block. And here I will just say res dot status 500 and dot JSON, and I will pass the message, so error dot message. So that's it. And here we are using await, but it is not a async function, so let's make it a async function. So if everything is fine, we can see here no errors. So let's go to our this register, and here we have this register. And now if I actually send that, first thing I will get is please provide a password, because we are not having any kind of password here. So we also need username, and let's say we'll have password. So that's it. So now we have the two fields that is required here. So if I send that, I can see here username is required. So okay, I think I know what is the problem. So if I come here in our model, I think we named it with a capital N, so it should be a small n, username a small n, so that will be fine. So if I come here in our Insomnia once again. So let's try it. And also you can see we had these 500 internal server error, and also the message, which means our catch block from our controller, this block is working. So that's a good thing. And after that, if I try to create it, now we can see 201 created and also new user created message, which means we should have a user. And if we want to see that, if you have MongoDB locally installed in your PC, and if you want to see that, you can use MongoDB Compass. I think the application name, you can use MongoDB Compass, and otherwise you can use MongoDB shell, which is the Mongo sh. And if you install this shell, you can actually see that. So I'll say show DBs, and the name of the DBs was where it is, this one, Express JWT Authentication. So I will use it. So Express JWT Authentication, and I will find table here. So show tables, and here is we have one tables, which is the users. So now to see the users table, what I will do is I will say db.users.find, and if I do that, I can see my only one user, which is the Shaif Arfan, with the password of, so this is the stored password that we have in our database. And also you can see this is a hashed version of the password. So you should not store the original password, you should always hash the password, and after that you should store it. So that's how we will do that. So once we confirm that our user is created, after that we need to make sure that we can log in with the user, right? So let's create a login route here. So router.post, and here I will say login and login function, and we need to create this login function in our controller. So bottom here, let's export constant login, and we will say request response, and for now rest.json, and here I will say login. So that's it. Let's import it here, and that will be fine. So let's try it. So open up Insomnia and duplicate this and name it login, and if we have that here, so make it login, and if I send it, I should see the login message. Okay, so now we have our login. So our login functionality will be here. So this will be a little bit complex, so let's try to do that. So first of all, we will have a try block here. So whenever we are trying to log in, we will provide our username and password through login. So with the given username, the first thing that I will do is I will actually search our database. With the username, we will find that the user with that from our database. So let's actually find the user from our database using the username that will be given from our client. So constant user equals to, so user, so this is the model, and using this model I will just say find one, and here I will provide what I want to actually find based on this information. So the information will be the username, and the username value will be the request.body username, like that. So based on this information, we will get our user, and if we have a user, in this case we will go on, but if we do not have any kind of user, in this case what we will do, so I will say if we do not have any kind of user, I will just say rest.send, sorry, first of all status 404, and JSON I will say no user found, like that. And that's fine. And also what I need to do is I need to make sure that it is awaited here, and also it is a async function. And finally, after that, once we have the check for our user, if we have the user, in this case what I will do is I will actually check the password with the user password. So let's actually do that. So constant is password correct. So I will say await. So I will use bcrypt here once again. So bcrypt dot compare. So this is the function, and here I will say request dot body dot password. So this is the password which will be from our client. So this is coming from the request dot body, and also we need to provide our hashed version of the password which will be coming from our database. So this will be coming from this user. So user dot password, and that's it. So if we have our password correct, in this case we will go on, but if we do not have our password correct, so in this case if our password is incorrect, what I will do, I will say rest dot status 400 and JSON, and here I will say wrong password. That's it. But if the password is correct, in this case what I will do is I will create my JWT token. So to create a JWT token, first of all we need to create a payload which will be in our token. So constant payload equals to, so in our payload I will add the ID of the user. So if you remember here, this is the ID which is automatically created by the MongoDB. So this ID we will pass as a payload. So ID equals to user dot underscore ID, and that will be our payload. So after that we will create our token using this payload. So token equals to, and for that we need to import JWT. So JWT from JSON-Web-Token. So once we import that, after that I will say JWT dot sign, and here I will provide the payload, and after that we need to create a secret. So for that let's go to our .env, and here I will say JWT secret equals to, so here you can provide any kind of unique secret that you trust, and this secret must be needed here. Whenever you will actually assign the token, it will use this secret, and also whenever you will verify the token, it will also use this secret. So just create a unique secret and put it here. For our tutorial purpose I will keep it like that. So let's actually use that here. So process .env dot JWT secret, and after that finally we need to provide some option here. I will say expires in 1 day. So that's how we can create a token. So once we have the token, we need to set the token in the cookies. So res dot cookies, cookie only. So in here first of all say the name, so access token, so this will be the name for our cookie, and after that the value which will be the token, and finally we will say the option for this cookie, and the most important option that we need to add here, which is the HTTP only. So HTTP only will be true, which means this cookie can be accessed by the server only, and after that we will say the status for this response will be 200, which means success, and after that JSON, and here we can provide something. Let's say we will provide the username for this logged in user, right? So I'll say username and user dot username, like that. So that's it. And if everything is okay, that will be fine, but we also need to provide our catch block here. So if we have any kind of error, we will get the error here, and I will say the same thing that I said here, which is we will get this 500 and also print the message here. So that should be fine. So that should be fine. So now we have our login functionality ready. So let's try it. So let's come here in our Insomnia. So here you can see we have login, and we need to provide these two fields to login. And let's actually try it with the wrong password. So if I do it like that, I can see wrong password, and it seems that we are having some error, which is okay. I see what is happening. So this error cannot set header after they are sent, which is actually happening because whenever we are actually checking something and we are setting a response, after that we should not go further. So in this case we should return from here, and also the same will be here. So whenever we are setting a response, we will return from here, we will not go further. So that's it. And I think now if I try again one more time with our Insomnia, there is no error in the bottom. Okay, fine. So let's try it with a wrong username. So if I do that, I can see no user found message, and also here we are having again the same error. Okay, we forgot to add the return here. So let's try it one more time. No user found, and also no error here. So that is fine. So which means our errors are working fine, and also our validations are working fine. So now let's try it with the correct username and password. In this case, it should create a cookie. Right now we do not have any kind of cookie. So if I log in username, we can see 200 response status 200, and also we can see the username, which should add a cookie. So we can see the cookie here, and also if you edit, we can see our access token, which is this one, which is our JWT token, and also this is HTTP only, and it is checked, which means our options is working correctly. So that's it. So now we have a cookie here, and with that cookie we can actually verify anything. So let's actually do that. So whenever we will actually come here in our private request. So now come here in our private. So where we have this route which we need to protect. So for that we will create a middleware, and let's actually create that. So let's create a folder with the name of middlewares, and here I will say check auth.js. So this will be middleware to check our authentication. Here first of all I will import our JWT. So import JWT from JSON-Web-Token, and after that we need to export this function. So export constant, and the name of the function is a check auth, and here I will have the request, upcoming request, and the response, and also the next. And here inside the function, first of all let's get the token. So we will get the token from the request.cookies, and the name of the cookie, which is the access token, if you remember. So once we have the token, we will check the token. So if we have the token, that's fine, but if you do not have the token, in this case I will return the response res.send, or I will say status, and in this case let's make it for 1, and JSON you are not authenticated, or you can say no token found. And also if our token is here, we need to make sure that it is a valid token. So jwt.verify, and here I will say the token that we got, and also we need to provide our secret. So once again process.env.jwt secret. So this is very, very important thing, JWT secret. Make sure that it is a unique and very safe. So after that we will have this callback function, error and user. So I will say user, or you can say, or you can name it anything. So this will be basically the payload which we added in the token when we created the token. So if we have an error, in this case I will just say the token is invalid, and I will return it from here, return and res.status, and the code will be 403 and JSON will be invalid token, like that. But if it is a valid token, in this case we should have our payload, which is the user ID in this case. So, and now what I will do is I will actually add this ID, user ID, in our request. So request.user ID, or user equals to, I can say ID will be the user, this thing. So this is not user, actually it is fine. And after that we will go to the next step. So that's it. So that's our middleware, and that's what we need to actually add to protect a route. So the route that we want to protect is the private route, and here it is, we have our private route, and we will check the route here with the middleware that we created, and here let's add it. So check auth and make sure that .js here, and if everything is fine, let's go to our Insomnia, and if I try to hit our private route, okay, 500 internal server error, user is not defined. So let's come back to our middleware here, sorry, user ID, this is now. So let's come here and Insomnia, let's try it. Now we can see our private route is working. Awesome. So which means if I come here in our cookies and delete these cookies from here, and if I try to hit the private route once again, as you can see we have this 401 unauthorized, which means we are not logged in. So if I come here and log in, and we can see our cookie here, and with that cookie now we can actually see our private route. Awesome. And also let's try to do one more thing. Let's actually edit this cookie. So now we have a cookie which is invalid. So in this case, if I try to send a request in the private, I can see invalid token. So let's actually edit back this thing, and if I send request with the valid token, in this case it is going well. So the last thing that I will need to do is I need to create another authentication route, which is the logout. So router dot you can say get and login, and here I will create this, sorry, not login, it will be logout, and logout function. So this function we need to create in our controller, and let's create it here. Export constant logout equals to, and here I will say request response, and here in our logout, so for our logout what I will do is I will say res dot clear cookie, and the name of the cookie, which is the access token, and after that res dot status 200 and JSON, and here I will just say. So now if I come here in our Insomnia, and let's actually duplicate this and make it log out, and in this case it will be get request and it should be log out, and also we do not need to pass anything. So this is our logout, and if I actually, right now you can see we have this cookie, but if I actually hit this route, okay, I think okay, we need to actually save this file, and also before we save we need to actually import our logout, and that's it. So now let's try it. So if I come here in the logout and if I actually hit this, and once again we have the cookies here. So if I hit this rec.clear cookie is not a function. So I think I know what is happening. So it is not in the request, it is in the response. So res.clear cookie. So make sure about that. So if I send it now, I can see logout success, and also my cookies are gone from here. Awesome. Once again, if I come here in the login and try to log in, and now I have my cookies back, I can go to any kind of private route which is protected with our private middleware, I mean check auth middleware. So we can actually do that, but whenever we want to log out, we can just hit this route and it will be log out. You cannot actually send any request to private anymore. So that's it. So now we have our authentication ready here with our JWT token and the cookies. So hey guys, one thing here I want to note that, so here what we have is we have the user ID, and we are setting the user ID in our request. So if we want to actually see that in our action, so let's go to our private route, because we are actually setting this user in the request, and after the middleware in our private route we have the same request, right? So we can actually console log this request with the user. Now if I actually go to our private route and hit our private route, we should see this console log which is coming from our this line. So here you can see in our request.user we have the ID, but this ID it is not what we want. So here what we can do actually, instead of naming it user ID, let's actually name it payload. And if I come here in our payload which is in our login, so if I come here in our auth, here is login. So here is login, and if you remember, the payload is having the only one thing is the ID. So that's what we need. So I will say payload.id. So that should be fine. Now if I come here in our private route and hit the route one more time, now you can see the ID. That's what we want, and it is well structured right now. So that's what I want to actually show you here. So we can just get the payload, and after that what we have in our payload, we can actually set it in our request, and inside a user object we just can set the ID in this case. And in our private route we can actually access this user by request.user, and inside the user just we have the ID. So now you can use this ID in your private route and get your work done. So yeah, that's it. So I hope you guys liked this video and you guys learned something, and if you did, please subscribe the channel and do some comments how you like this video and share your opinion on that. So yeah, do that. And also if you want to see more videos like this one, just subscribe the channel, share this video, spread love, and I will see you very soon in the next video. Till then, take care, bye bye, and Khuda Hafiz.